my only friend, the end of our elaborate plans, the end of everything that's...
It's 11:59 at Radio Free America, and this is Uncle Sam with music and the truth until dawn. Right now, I've got a few words for some of our brothers and sisters in the occupied zone. The chair is against the wall. The chair is against the wall. John has a long mustache. John has a long mustache. It's 12 o'clock, Americans, another day closer to victory. And for all of you out there home or behind the lines, this is your song.
Hey, and welcome everybody to our Daily Gun Show. Come to you live every weeknight at midnight Eastern. What we used to for about an hour, we talk about guns. And got people joining us. We got Angelina joining in from California. Thanks for joining.
Hello.
Got Psycho Camp jumping in from Connecticut.
Hi there, everybody.
Let's see, we got Wood sneaking in from Washington, going back west.
Hey, G. Thanks for the invite.
You bet. And then Snob, where are you at?
Oklahoma. Thanks for the invite.
You bet. And I'm down here in Arizona. So we got people jumping in from all over, and we've got people joining us live on the YouTube side, and of course we simulcast the show over on gunchannels.com. So we're watching the chat over there as well. So I'm not sure what episode it is. It's like 621 maybe. I'm gonna go check it out. And it's Monday, so normally on Mondays we would talk about behind the scenes. Today we're going to talk about the show because we're changing the show up a bit. So let's see, it's episode, it's not the 23rd, is it? It's the 30th. So we're on episode 621. So 621 shows later, we're changing it up a bit. I was doing some research on podcasts and reevaluating what I want to do with the show. And I think what we're going to do is leave this piece here at midnight, and then I'm going to do a show at noon, which will be the Daily Gun Show. So this will be sort of the Daily Gun Show live chat, and it'll just happen whenever there's people that want to chat or something that's worth chatting about. So hopefully that'll give us the best of both worlds. We'll have a daytime chat consistently, and then this one whenever necessary or whenever there's interest for it. And this can be a long format discussion chat like we've been doing for a while. So hope everybody's down with that. So today's Monday. That was behind the scenes on the show. And you guys were talking about the, what do you call it? I guess some strategy or some gaming, what happened with SCOTUS or with Ninth.
It was just the whole open carry thing. I mean, Cycle had a lot of good insight to it. I forgot how we even got on that topic now, though.
You were just asking if anything interesting had happened.
Well, any good stuff had happened.
Yeah. And I tend to agree with Yankee on some of this stuff. You know, while it's not real big stuff, a lot of the stuff that has happened is starting to open the doors. It's starting to punch big holes in some of the liberal arguments. And the one that I think is especially telling is it's not a court ruling, but a decision or an opinion about the whole, you know, they're starting to back off on the, oh, you can't put the information on how to do a 3D printer version of gun parts out there. And as part of their relaxation on that, they made a finding that said just because a gun has similar characteristics to a military firearm does not make it a military firearm. You know, and I thought that's very telling, because one of the big arguments that the left uses to ban things like AR-15s is that they are, you know, military-like firearms. They're assault-style weapons. And basically the ATF has come back and said that's bullshit. You know, just because they have flash hiders and they use common military calibers does not make them military weapons. Basically, they said if it's not used by a military, it's not a military weapon. And I thought that was a great finding and really flies in the face of a lot of the arguments that the gun grabbers typically use.
Is there like so the ATF said this and what, like something they just put out, or?
Yeah, they were responding. I guess they got either challenged or request for further information about this whole. You know, they realized they went way too far when they in the last piece of either legislation or rule. I guess it was rulemaking that came out about what you could say and what you couldn't say and what constituted stuff where you had to go out and get the $2,500 license from the ATF, all that kind of stuff. So they're trying to make it more reasonable now, so that guys that I mean, before they said, if you do any like machining of parts, then you're a manufacturer and you have to have a manufacturer's license, which is a lot of shit, because a lot of gun parts have to be custom fit, and that means you have. In fact, I was working on that HMR2, the CZ, and one of the parts in there has to be fitted. You have to do grinding work on it in order to get it right. They give it to you a little bit long, and you have to grind it down to fit the individual gun. And so technically that makes me a gunsmith / manufacturer, and I would have to go get a $2,500 license to do that. And they realized that was all just bullshit, and they needed to come up with a smarter way to do it.
Yes, I wonder if this is going to do anything, like as far as any kind of rights restoral or leg up, or like for instance the whole California AR-15 thing. So because the argument that all the California politicians and leftists use are that the AR-15s are military grade weapons. And so here's ATF saying, no, that's not the case, man. So is California going to have to rethink this now? I mean, there was something like a couple weeks ago that made it seem like the whole registration and all that was off. But I don't know. Like, I don't know what the whole official anything is now.
Yeah, you got me.
They're not going to do anything unless they're forced to.
Yeah, I mean, that's always the case. Well, good old California politicians. We have a election this year, and apparently there's a real chance that the Republican candidate could be elected. Like, usually, I mean, as soon as the polls close, they just call it for whatever Democrat, like, all the time. But yeah, apparently now there's a real chance. So maybe we'll see some freedoms restored to the Golden State.
But is the Republican pro-gun?
I mean, I think he's pro-gun enough. There was this, I think it's John Cox, and he's like some failed Chicago politician. So I don't know, maybe. The other guy, because there was two Republicans on the nomination that got quite a lot of votes. The other guy, Travis Allen, was hugely pro-gun, and that's probably what carried him as far as it did, because he had a huge support in the California gun scene, I guess.
Yeah, we're up to 30,000 members in our CCDL organization, and we're now actually talking the difference between the governor making it last year or last election or not making it last year. We actually have the number of votes we would have needed to shift the vote. So we're really looking forward to this year.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. So you have to update us and let us know if, how your reach was this election year.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, we'll move on from my babbling of the day to our second segment of the day. But before that is member of the day. And then I'll pick, since I'm like the boss, kind of, but not really. Let's see who's on the gun channel side. Who do we got? Clay. Clay is a member of the day. He's talking about shotguns with Cycle Cam. So that's pretty cool. All right.
Nothing out there all hours of the day in the text chats. Occasionally he'll jump into a chat as well. But he travels a bit and brings a lot of insight. He's suggested gunshots to the show quite a few times.
Awesome. Anyone else have any kind words to say about Clay?
Well, he certainly seems knowledgeable enough.
I'll agree with that. I don't really know him very well, but he certainly seems more knowledgeable than I am on a lot of gun stuff.
Gun snob, you gonna make it up? All right.
Oh, I was muted. Sorry.
Oh.
I'm new here, so I really don't know him yet.
Well, you can just lie about it. You can be like, oh, that time he came over and helped.
He seems like an awesome guy and knows everything.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right, so congratulations, Clay. Your prize package is in the mail, but it's on the slow boat from China. It'll be a while. There's no prize package. All right, so second little blurb of the day. I don't know what it is yet. Did we got one that I don't know about? Maybe? No?
Behind the scenes, we can talk about podcasting, but if anybody's interested, they can bring up a topic.
All right, well, what about audience? Throw some stuff out there, and then we'll do the gun shop of the day in the meantime. We have a gun shop of the day?
Not on our list, no.
All right, gun snob. What's your favorite gun shop?
Probably Sports World in Tulsa.
All right, let me...
Sports World.
Sports World, yeah. It's like a family-owned shop, but it's really big and nice. Gunsmith and everything in there.
For some reason, I can't spell Oklahoma today.
O-K-L-H-O-M-A, Oklahoma. Yeah.
I love me some Oklahoma. Anyway, all right, here we are on this gun store. So tell us about this gun store, and I'll browse the website for the audience.
I don't know. It's a pretty nice store. It's really nice inside. Got a big selection, used and new guns, family owned. A lot of nice guys.
And they make food there?
Yeah, they have a little restaurant in the back. I've never eaten there. It's just a little cafe thing.
All right, cool. Do they have like a lot of guns, or?
Oh yeah, they got a big selection of new and used, and a lot of, like, they call them demo guns out in the middle and stuff too.
Sweet.
A lot of safes and stuff too.
Buy a gun online. Oh, drop one of these drop ship things. That's cool. Safes.
And they have a giant poodle that roams around the store all the time, so, you know.
Wait, is there a picture of this dog?
I don't know.
I've noticed that a lot more in gun shops that I've been to. There's usually a puppy hanging around.
That pretty much makes me want to, like, go there.
Yeah, I'd want to give them money now.
Wait. Is that it right there, this building?
Yeah, that's it.
Kind of, it looks pretty big.
It's big.
Right, this is me. I don't have that near me. 9 to 6, 9 to 4, closed on Sunday. That's Lord's Day. They got a fax there, pretty sweet. Knives, safes. The owner. Who's the owner? Let's meet the owner. Holly Brow. When you're married to a Hall of Fame skeet shooter. Oh, alright. So it's a chick that owns this shop. So that's cool. A woman-owned gun shop. I like that. All right, so yeah, so if you're in Tulsa, Oklahoma, you should go take a look at this shop. That's pretty
It's
cool.
technically legal.
Technically legal. She must have gotten permission from at least 5 males to open her shop.
He probably did it to avoid the taxes.
Yeah, it's some
So we,
businesses, but
we did get to visit that one. Is there just one location, or is there more than one?
Just the one.
Yeah, then we did visit it with PT269. Pretty cool shop.
right, cool. So is there anything in the chat about what we should do? Talk about Glocks and how they are superior to every other firearm.
Well, that'll be a real short conversation.
Will it?
Yeah.
All right. Webs, what do you think about Glocks?
What are we talking about?
How you feel about Glocks and why they're superior to every other gun?
They're superior to every other firearm because they've got 34 parts in them. You can find replacement parts and accessories, magazines and accessories in every gun shop you go to. Pretty much every manufacturer builds stuff for them. So I have no issue keeping the thing running, and it's designed to be able to shoot. It's got time on the clock and is in the fly-by-night, follow the trends type of thing.
All right, good answers. I like that you said it has 30-something parts in it. I didn't really realize that, I guess. But Woods, Glocks, how do you feel? Why are they the best?
I do agree with G, but I've been reading that book Glock, The Rise of the American Gun, and it's really it's really more the history of Glock the business than the Glock the gun, and it's completely fascinating, and it's pretty impressive that the guy originally just made bayonets and like hinges, and just overheard some generals one day talking about it and said, "Well, hell, let's make a gun," and his knowledge of guns was his benefit because he bought a bunch of guns to look at, and then tore them all apart and then said, well, they don't need all these parts. So he came back at it from an engineering point of view, as opposed to being a gun guy and being stuck in like, well, this is how they all did it.
Right. Okay, pretty good answer. I like that. Snob.
Well, I mean, according to Clover, you can take about 50 Glocks and you can come up with 50 when you're done. So
if you had like 49 Glocks, when you put them back together, there would be 50 Glocks?
yeah, that's what Clover said. I'm just reading what he said.
What's that thing that Jeff Goldblum said in Jurassic Park? Nature finds a way. Some Glocks are going to find a way.
And they just work.
They do just work. And then, so Psycho Camp, what do you think about some Glocks, homie?
So Glocks are great, like Toyota Corollas were great in the 80s, or Hyundai Elantras are great currently, in that it's a middle of the road, does a pretty good job at a lot of things, but doesn't do anything particularly well, and they're just ubiquitous. So they're great from that point of view. They're not the straightest shooting. They're not the easiest shooting. They're not the simplest. They're not the most complex. They're a good middle of the road, very value priced. You know, you get a lot of gun for your money, and you know, the fact that a lot of militaries and a lot of police forces used them for so many years, it's tried and true. So from that point of view, I'll give it to the Glock people. You know, it's the Hyundai Elantra of the gun world.
Well, that implies that it's useless and that it's delicate. I would say if you're going to...
No, Hyundai's run all over the place. They have a great warranty. Everybody in my family owns them. I mean, I really like them. So I'm definitely not shitting on Glocks.
Well, I'd compare it to a Crown Vic police car.
No, I think a Dan Wesson is more like a police car.
No way.
I think maybe more like the Ford. What the hell was that Ford that they use? The Interceptor or whatever?
Yeah, that's why I said a Crown
But
Vic.
again, but that was a fairly powerful car, and it wasn't your average everyday car. Whereas
Exactly.
Glocks are more like average everyday guns.
No, it's not. The 34 parts of it makes it an everyday gun? The part that it's designed to just work makes it an everyday gun? No, it's super reliable and super rugged compared to regular guns. It doesn't have extraneous parts to add some delicate trigger or some super adjustable sight or something, or extra parts to make some kind of thing buffer so that it lasts forever. It's got perishable parts where they need to be. It's a useful machine that has decades, literally decades. There's only one other gun, well, maybe two other guns on the planet as far as handguns that even have anywhere near the reliability reputation, and that's why I say it's a cop car. It's designed for a use. It's not just a car designed for taking kids to school and designed for going to the mall. It's designed for chasing perpetrators across medians and stuff and living through it.
And if you want all that fancy stuff for it, you can get anything in the world for a Glock.
Well, that's unfortunate for the Glock because it's the gold standard, just like the 1911. It replaced the 1911 for being like the Toyota truck. I guess we could maybe agree on that. But because of all that stuff, everybody that wants to hate whatever works is going to go, oh, well, look, there's accessories for it, so it can't be good. Look, people choose to personalize it. Oh, it can't be good.
Well, Gary jumped in here now, so let's get his opinion on what do you think of Glocks and why are they superior to every other gun? Or every other pistol, I guess.
Well, what do I think of Glocks? I carry one, so I must like them. Of course, I only own the one. I've only owned it for a few months. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Which one do you have?
The 42.
40, is that that's a 380 or that's a 9mm?
That's a 380.
Okay. I like the smallness of it. So that's a cool Glock.
It's what I like about it, it's a 380, but it's not like one of those little tiny 380s that are hard to hold on to and hard to aim. This one's actually big enough. It's just about the perfect size to aim well and still be small enough to get in a pocket.
I call them the snappy little bitches.
Yeah, I owned a Taurus TCP for 3 years, and I enjoyed carrying it. I didn't enjoy shooting it. I couldn't hit the broadside of a barn with it. This one, I can actually aim at a target and hit what I'm aiming at. That's what I like.
And do you enjoy it? Do you enjoy do you enjoy shooting the gun?
Yes, I do.
Oh, sweet. Well, I mean, there you go. That's
And I also enjoy irritating my friends with it because you got all the people who say, oh, I'd never own a Glock. I'd never own a Glock. And when they find out I have one, then they can make fun of me too. It's kind of fun.
Oh, I have two of them, and I wouldn't carry either of them. But only because I have particular needs for carry, and they don't fit.
Me, I just like pocket carry.
Yeah.
Well, so I'm a Glock fan. I own Glocks, and I've owned a lot of Glocks. My favorite pistol is a Glock 19. It used to be my daily carry, I guess, but now I carry a Shield, which I also really, really like. But yeah, a Glock, I mean, shit, I've never fucked one up. So they got that going for them, and I don't know, they're just easy. It's the first pistol I ever owned was a Glock 19, and I mean, I can take one apart and put it back together really easily with whatever I can find on my desk usually. So yeah, I like Glocks. I think are they the most? I didn't think they were the best looking gun at first, but I definitely appreciate their blocky physique now. They feel good in the hand. People can customize them if you're into that. I like a stock Glock, but whatever you like. So I think we're all, pretty much everyone loves Glocks, but they're a Korean car.
So if Woods is reading the book now, I don't know what chapter you're on, but I know Clover's reading the book also. It might be interesting to do, maybe not every single chapter in the book, but a couple of the key ones where it's kind of neat, because that book might be about Glocks, but you know, it's like being about the Ford truck. It's such a, you know, widely adopted one that, you know, you're just talking about the whole industry and the culture and everything. So it's pretty neat perspective about it.
I thought it was really interesting that the guy that wrote it actually works for Newsweek. So he works for Bloomberg, but he was really fair to firearms in general. He's not a gun guy.
I don't know. Yeah, exactly. I met the guy. I thought the book was the bee's knees, and then made a video about it, and that was so great and everything. And then I don't know, that was, let's say, at some point. And then I went to SHOT Show, and I'm sitting there minding my business, talking to somebody, and this guy sits, like, we're in the media room, and there's these tables, right? And maybe there's 10 seats around, like big round tables in there. We're just sitting at 2 seats around this big empty table, and some guy comes along and sets this card down kind of between us or on the table. I seen it though, and I was like, usually when they set those cards down, it's for like somebody doing an author's, what do they call those? Like where the author will talk about his book and you can ask questions or whatever. And they'll put those up in the media room, and then I guess because they want us to go there and ask some questions or whatever. So I was like, oh crap, is this guy here doing a talk? And he's like, well, that guy's me, and no, I'm just setting out these cards. So anyway, I got to meet him there and chat with him a bit and tell him how cool his book was. And that's when, yeah, he said he's not much of a gun guy, but his next book, this was years ago, and he said his next book was going to be about guns. So I forgot what he said it was going to be about.
I particularly like the chapter that when Gaston Glock first put in his bid, Steyr, being the other Austrian company, didn't win it, but they had such influence that they made the government, you know, being socialists, they had enough ends that they were demanded that another Austrian company win, when really in reality Beretta won. But they gave the contract to Glock, and he was just the right place at the right time. And so many times, people that are very successful, there's a big chunk of that you have to be at the right place at the right time.
Well, that's one way of saying it, or you could look at it that he was, what, 54, 57 years old when he invented the Glock in 1980, and then it was till 1984 that it was accepted, or 1983 that it was accepted by the Austrian army. So perseverance and having a goal and working towards it isn't the same as being lucky and being there at the right time, because that implies that he was just sitting around a clock that he just happened to make. You know, he sat down once he knew that the contract was going to be available. He bought every gun that was currently the shit, took them all apart, figured out how they worked, met up with with other, whatever you call, like reputable gun people, and then designed the Glock to be built as a service gun. Just a completely different approach. So anyway, he did that all with intent, and I guess you could say right place, the right time, but you know, he set all that up, and then consequences happen. But it's also with some amount of hindsight that they're writing that history, right? I'm sure right. Steyr looking at it like, you know, oh, he did all this hard work. They're looking at it like, oh, this guy just walked all over and took our contract from us.
Well, I mean, I think sometimes you obviously have to have, you know, the hard work in order to be in the game in the first place. But sometimes you do have to be in the right place at the right time. That's they mention that in the book. But I highly recommend it. It's a really good book.
Yeah, Clover says a good point, and that's where I guess I was trying to enunciate what he's saying here. Glock as a company was in the right place at the right time so many times throughout the history of the company. At what time do you stop saying it was all coincidence? So, I mean, there's a certain amount of luck, and then there's people that just see it coming or have a feeling, right? I mean, I guess it's possible just standing there and everything went his way.
All right, I'm going to go around the room and ask you your favorite Glock. No explanation, just favorite Glock. Cycle Cam?
26.
G?
18.
Gary?
42.
Woods?
17, the original.
Snob?
19.
And I'm a 19 too. So there's our segment on why Glock is the shit. And thank you. I want to say Arkansas Andy for that suggestion. All right, so yeah, what do we got next? History, maybe?
Well, and Clover has a link, but he didn't jump in, but he's out there chatting. And like say, Roosted, I don't know, whenever you guys want to get together sometime, if you need to do, as you guys are reading the chapters, I guess is what I wanted to add to that. Because then it'll be fresh in your memories or whatever. But I'd be down for doing a couple of chats where we just talk about some of those chapters, since you guys are both in the middle of reading.
I'm about 3/4 through, but I'd be happy to go back and read the chapter again.
Like a book club, like Oprah.
Yep.
Does
Right?
everybody get a Glock?
Nope. Everybody.
Yeah, reach under your seat at the end of the chat. There'll miraculously be a Glock sitting there.
I'm totally in.
All right,
Yep.
so history. I don't have the gun history because that's not the one that I read. I read the freaking history
And
one. So 1975, Jimmy Hoffa disappears. Anyone remember that? I was not even born.
I was 4.
Cycle, do you remember this as like a thing?
oh yeah,
See?
my dad pours concrete for a living. I'm not allowed to talk about where Hoffa might be.
I don't know anything about it. I resent the implication. I have nothing to do with any of this. I was a young person at the time.
All right, that's for offline chat. 1875, former President Andrew Johnson dies.
I have a kind of creepily eerie one.
All right, go.
In 1863, President Lincoln issued his eye for an eye order to shoot a rebel prisoner for every black prisoner shot. And I didn't even know that.
Yeah, I didn't know about that either. That's interesting.
Pretty neat. Yeah, apparently the South was, if they captured black guys, they just shot them right there. And President said, well, we'll stop that shit. So he issued his eye for an eye order that said, for every black prisoner we confirm that they shot, we shoot one of theirs. Not a very liberal thing to do.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think that would fly these days.
Did they actually ever carry it out?
I think just the order was probably enough.
It probably was. I just wondered.
1964, Agreement on Conduct of War for Vietnam. That was the thing today.
1729, city of Baltimore was founded.
Wow.
1733, the Society of Freemasons opened their first American lodge in Boston. 1733. 1839, slave rebels took over the slave ship Amistad.
In 1916, German saboteurs blew up a munitions pier on Black Tom Island in Jersey City, New Jersey. So even the German people didn't like New Jersey that much.
I love New Jersey, dude. I love Jersey City too.
Oh God, I that's like when I go to Cape Cod, I drive around the little piece of New Jersey I would normally go through.
Oh my God, I would move to New Jersey if it wasn't so expensive. I would live there.
Oh, the gun laws are the pits.
I know, but it's shitty here too. So I'd be going from shit to shit. I wouldn't have to do anything.
1928, George Eastman showed the first color motion picture in the U.S.
Yep.
Did you already say that one?
Yeah, that's cool. Kodak.
1942, Roosevelt signed in the Women's Auxiliary Agency in the Navy. Women accepted for volunteer emergency service, otherwise known as the WAVES. So
Now, did that transition into the WACs, or was that something totally different?
no, WAVES is Navy. The other one is Air. So
Oh, so
must
that
be-
was a Women's Air Corps. Okay.
yeah, it must be separate because this one says 42. for the Navy. I don't know. I mean, maybe it's a different day in 42, but not today.
In 2003, the last old-style Volkswagen Beetle came off the assembly line in Mexico.
Oh, that's too bad.
Yeah, and I think I saw that when I was at up at the shore the other day. Those things are cool.
Yeah, like those. The new ones don't have the same soul. All right, well, there's history for the day.
1967, a race riot in Milwaukee. 4 people killed. Lasted 4 days. I don't remember that.
1956, the U.S. motto "In God We Trust" was authorized. All that religious shit happened like right when I was born. They added "Under God" in 55 to the pledge, and that's the year I was born. And then in 56, they added "In God We Trust." I must really scared them when I popped out of there.
Yeah. Let's make sure
Probably
that knows that we're still God-fearing.
Yeah, it's probably the 666 tattoo behind my ear.
1971, Apollo 15, astronauts Scott, Irwin, and Mayer. I think that means land on the moon. Did they land, or maybe that means they just drove around the moon? I don't know. They did.
No, they landed. That's where the lunar lander dropped.
Okay. With 15.
Yeah, the 71. Yeah.
We were talking about that one time. Has anybody ever seen the lunar lander unfold out of the back of the landing thing? Kind of neat.
Yes.
Just sort of unfolds out the back and then pops open into the vehicle. 1974, under coercion of the U.S. Supreme Court, Nixon releases subpoenaed White House recordings suspected to prove his guilt in the Watergate cover-up to special prosecutor or whoever. So it's interesting. Have you seen some of the memes or some of the things they'll show, like the amount of stuff Nixon was accused of, and then of course he gets impeached, and the amount of stuff that is missing nowadays when, you know, whatever scandal you want to look at, there's like much more stuff being ignored now or being whatever hidden than the little bit that Nixon was accused of. He had like missing minutes of conversations, right? Remember, right?
Yeah, 18 seconds or something like that.
In 1865, the steamboat Brother Jonathan sinks off the coast of Crescent City, California, killing 225 passengers.
Huh. I didn't even think about steamboats back over in California.
Well, you don't really think about the Germans prosecuting the war on our territory, right? But you know, they blew up a pier, they sunk a freighter. I mean, they did all kinds of stuff.
It looks like there was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, almost 25 Medal of Honors today. All right, so that's our look back in history. One of the reasons we do the show, so we talk about a gun shop every day and talk about some
history.
Reading it here while I'm saying it. 1942 U.S. passenger freighter Robert E. Lee with 268 passengers sunk by a U-boat. Did you just say that one?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
I think that was the one.
Gulf of Mexico.
The one I said was California.
Oh, I'm sorry. So there's two different ones.
Yeah.
How the hell did the Germans get to California side?
I don't think this was Germans.
That was back in the olden days of the gold rush, I think.
Hold on, let me look again. It was 18 something.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So that wasn't a war act. That was
No, it was 1865.
That was
just an odd shit.
It was the deadliest shipwreck on the U.S. Pacific coast at that time.
Oh, okay.
Right on. So go back out and see if anybody's seen anything out there. Today, that's what it's all about. What? That sabotage caused damage to the Statue of Liberty, and that's why the arm was closed to the public. I never heard that before. Did you ever hear that before? I thought it was because the arm was just old.
No, I've never heard that, but wouldn't doubt it.
I mean, I know you can't go up in the arm. That was always the thing. Like, I was like, always like, why should I go to the Statue of Liberty? If I can't go up to the flame, then what's the point? Back in the day, you could walk up to the flame. But I always thought it was just because the copper was getting old. Or at least that was what it was implied. No one ever suggested it was sabotage.
I'd like to see the Statue of Liberty, but I just have no use in going to New York.
New York is amazing.
That's true too. So I don't know. I guess I don't know how we missed that one. So I'm gonna go back and look at this thing because it would be pretty shitty if it's.
I was in New York, but I was like 8 years old, so.
But July 30th is also the date of the Indianapolis. You guys heard that story before?
Yeah, it was sunk by a Japanese submarine. And it took 4 days for him to rescue any of the survivors.
Like 883 seamen.
Yep, 883. The worst loss in history in the United States Navy. Again, was near for the Japanese. They were mad, so they were killing as much as they could. So before midnight on the 29th, so last night, the American cruiser was a flagship of the Fifth Fleet, was on its way unescorted to Guam. It was torpedoed by a guy in command had participated in Pearl Harbor, whatever that means. So there were almost 1,200 dudes in Indianapolis. 350 of them died upon impact with the torpedo or went down with the ship. 800 of them went into the Pacific. Of those, approximately 50 died the first night from injuries from the torpedo and the explosions. The remaining were left to flounder in the water in the ocean with sharks everywhere. They had to drink seawater, and that's not good for you. And there was no time for a distress signal as it went down, so it took 84 hours before help arrived. And let's see, I guess that wasn't the best rescue attempt ever. Only 318 survived. The rest were eaten by sharks or drowned. So 800 people fell into the Pacific. Can you imagine being sick, sitting in the water with a bunch of guys trying to figure out what to do, and you have very little you can do? 500 dudes almost get ate by sharks. It's insane. There's only ever so I guess the captain was the only officer ever to be court-martialed for the loss of a ship during wartime. Had the attack happened only 3 days earlier, the Indianapolis would have been sunk carrying special cargo, the atomic bomb or the atom bomb. So it had carried the atom bomb to the island north of Guam for the scientists to assemble. I didn't know that. That's interesting. Why did they?
Which one?
Yeah. Why would they court-martial him for loss of his ship?
Yeah, I mean, he was unescorted and everything. What the hell is he supposed to do about it?
Maybe because of the procedure and he didn't call it in right. There's a whole chunk I missed here because they couldn't find him. So maybe that had something to do with the loss of life or something. Maybe it was like not following through correctly. I don't know. There's all kinds of stuff about it. I don't know of any lame fictional dramas or anything about it, but I have seen some documentaries about it, and there are survivors still alive. Well, there have been survivors still alive that have recorded their stories. So that's stuff. Thanks for a couple of people actually had emailed me that. So thank you for that. Don't want to miss something like that. Yeah, Patriots 8 posted a video earlier today on gun channels with a survivor.
All right, so what do we got going on gun channels tomorrow?
Huh. Oh, interesting. Midnight is saying the interview that he sent me in an email was with it's an interview with a Marine who guarded the bombs. Maybe both bombs were on that boat on that ship.
So the controversy about the ship was that he was ordered to maintain. He was on a top secret mission because of the bomb, and he was ordered to maintain radio silence. So when he was sunk, they did not call for help.
Oh shit! So what?
But he was under orders to maintain radio silence.
Crazy. That sucks.
And he was also charged with failure to zigzag to avoid the submarine. You know, because you zig, you know, every now and then to avoid the torpedo, right?
Yeah. Huh.
It doesn't seem like a ship that big. It zigzag very well.
No, but from when you figure they shoot from, you know, roughly 3/4 of a mile to a mile off, and it takes 30 or 40 seconds for the torpedo to get there. In the old days, you're talking old diesel type submarines. You know, you would have had to zig and zag quite a bit. You spend all your time zigging and zagging, you wouldn't get anywhere.
Well, that's probably what the debate was, right? Like, let's get out of range instead of trying to avoid.
Yeah, and he was actually exonerated posthumously. He committed suicide, and he was exonerated posthumously. And the testimony of the actually the sub commander as well as his own men, they exonerated him after the fact.
All right, so it looks like there's a lot to talk about there.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Roasted's asking, early watch? I'm not sure. I know that they're definitely going to get that back. Looks like night strike with a morning strike or 8 in the morning or go to the sun or something show. I think a target on the sun this morning. So yeah, and Tony did an early show. Then looks like Knives went on live, and then you've got your Tuesday lineup in the prime time, which is back on the top of gun channels again. I figured all the new people have come already, and they can figure out what's going on now. So we'll put the live schedule back up there. So it looks like Hanging Out with Outlaw, if he's doing his show tomorrow, will start at 6.
Hit or miss, Tuesday, 9 o'clock.
Yeah, but Ghost has his show first at 8. So Ghost Tactical does his Tuesday show. Then, yep, hit or miss. We also have Big Gunner 81 does a show on Tuesdays as well. And then we'll be back here. Well, no, we won't. We'll be doing our show at noon, and then doing this show whenever there's people to show up. So potentially 2 Daily Gun shows a day, but there'll be an unabridged or a modified noon show. So I'll put that in the schedule, and stay tuned for that on the iTunes and over on Gunstreamer and GunTube. All right, and we also have anything else to throw out there tonight?
When you say noon, do you mean noon
Eastern? It's everything in Eastern because
Eastern? Okay, just curious.
Yeah, and it's not going to be a live show. It's just going to be more of a kind of a consolidation of efforts, and hopefully we'll see some new stuff happening on gun channels as well. Let's see, Gary's out there. Not Gary. Okay, thinking of Rick. Rick is out there doing a Indiegogo campaign right now. So you've got Rick, who has brought a couple of people into gun channels already on his own by just doing an interesting show, reaching out to different audiences. On Wednesday, he does shooting with the disabled or shooting for the disabled, and bring in different types of differently abled people to his show. And he's, with that, brought people to gun channels, and some of those people have gone on to do all kinds of neat stuff. So Rick's doing that. He's also lived a long time in Europe, in England, so he brings that angle to his project. And then, of course, he lives in Rhode Island, so I think he's got a lot to bring to the table. He's consistent on a Saturday show. He's been doing it for a long time. There's nothing else happening on a Saturday except for Travis does his show in the early mornings, and now we've got some people doing evening shows, but there's nothing happening, never been really anything happening on Saturdays. I've tried to do Saturday shows multiple times, and there's not audience for them, so it can be frustrating. Rick is still there doing it. I mean, with health issues and whatnot and family, he's not there every single week, but he's doing a more consistent Saturday show than anyone's done in the 5 years of gun channels. and he's looking to not make $1 million doing this. He's retired. He's doing it for the love of it, but he is looking for some support financially and some help. So he's trying to get the word out there to new people, and that's one of the reasons you do a campaign on Indiegogo. So I'm going to grab the link to that and encourage anybody who enjoys what we do here. I suspect if you haven't seen Rick's stuff, you might enjoy his grassroots kind of stuff. And we encourage you to, if you can't throw a couple of bucks at him, at least help share his project with others. Because again, you never know. The whole power of social media is to spread word to people who you might not know are interested in something. All right, what's he calling it over there? Thanks. Find it. My contributions. He's calling it patches and stickers, and he calls himself Spotted Rick. So here's the deal over there. And he set up for $500 because you got to set it up for $500. That's the minimum. So he's already raised $100. That's pretty cool. He's got 8 days left, so more than a week, and that's 6 people. So right, throws $10 at him, give him some encouragement, and of course, like I always try to remind people, is that he's doing a gun-related thing, not necessarily an in-your-face gun-related thing. I guess maybe I'll bug him to put some gun stuff up here, but he is doing something that we know is Second Amendment related up here on Indiegogo, which is a platform that lots of people use, and it's in here, westerly Rhode Island, right? So it's coming from an area that people, I don't know, I think that's got value. So if you want to see that turn into 100, then throw a couple of bucks at them, and I guess I'll click not doing it, and I'll throw the link out here to everybody. Oh wait, you know what? I should probably grab this link. It's shorter. It's probably easier. Especially for archaic, bloated, dying YouTube, it can only handle certain links, and it might break that link. So if it does, then just search for Spotted Rick. There you go. Oh, it said Spotted Rick. I guess he has it under his name. All right, well, that's all I got. Gary, thanks for jumping in.
You bet.
Knob, thanks for joining.
Thanks for the invite.
Woods, hopefully we'll do some more of the communication stuff. I think we'll have to give up on Smeggy joining. I seen Dano out on the YouTube side for whatever he didn't jump on the gun channel side and check the links out. But maybe Dano will show up for one of these chats, maybe not. But otherwise, let's go just get into it. And whenever you're ready, let me know. And then stay tuned for that. And we'll probably broadcast that on the Daily Gun Show channel, so you can watch that here.
Okay, sounds great.
Cool. Thanks for helping.
Thanks for the invite.
Got Angelina, you got anything coming up? Or you're doing the flags now. The ordering is over, right?
Yeah, the ordering is over. We're printing them up and stitching them up and sending them out.
I know.
So it's been a busy, sweaty time.
Has anybody got a quote to end us out tonight then?
You want a sci-fi guy or a Italian patriarch?
Sci-fi.
Sci-fi? Okay. This is a golden age sci-fi writer, A.E. Van Vo. He wrote a novel, The Weapon Shops of Isher, and he had a quick one-liner in there that says, "The right to buy weapons is the right to be free." And I thought that was a good quote from him.
Good quote.
And that's a great story, by the way, if you get a chance to read it. It's not very long, but it's a good read.
Guys and gals of gunwebsites.com encourage you to take a CCW class every year, practice at least once a month, and carry every day. Thanks for watching gunwebsites.com.
Making pancakes, making bacon pancakes. Take some bacon and I'll put it in a pancake. Bacon pancakes, that's what it's gonna make. Bacon pancakes.